as you think you are. That's his feeling nature. And Neville would tell us that all the time. As you think you are. I mean, how simple could it be put? Really? Think about it.
Or think from it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. The whole idea is that God is with you, but he's not directing you. You're directing you. But you're doing so with his power. Because he gave you choose. The very act of choosing is directing power. And it would be an assumption that you'll choose better than the best that you yet know. So you're being taken care of all along the way, all along the whole journey. You're being taken care of by as you think you are. And if you're thinking negative, well, you see, that's also creative. See, that's the beginning of the fear of God, is that it is as he says it is to you. That could be heaven or hell, as you think you are. Isn't that simple enough, though?
It is. It is. And it really, in its simplicity, it's also a lot of responsibility if rightly understood, because in truth, I often would say that we're spiritual beings having a human experience, but even more than that, we're divine beings. We're offsprings of God having a human experience. Would you agree?
That's it. You said it perfectly. Exactly that. But you're given. You're given, already given, not because you're good. I mean, it's given you by the grace of God. Choose this day. It's that simple. Choose it or lose it. Because if you don't choose, that's also choice. That just means the world in general around you will do all the choosing for you. And you may not like it at all, but you're given. Change your mind, change your world. That's a very simple idea, but you have to focus on it. Because what you focus on, you give energy to through your thinking it is so. And that's what makes it so. So you're in charge. Even if you're out of charge, you're charging things in your world that maybe you don't like. And you probably got, like I always had, plenty of excuses for everything. I could draw them out right quick. But all you're doing is just lying to yourself. If you're blaming anybody else for where you are in this world, then you'll live with that in that way, in that thought, in that feeling, and it won't be true. But you'll still be experiencing what you don't want. That's what you came here, that's what you're listening to this for, is to change something in your world of experiencing. I mean, what else would it be? Well, this is how you do it. As within, so without. Well, in what? In thinking from within. In other words, you thinking, and you are thinking, morning, noon, and night. But what are you thinking? Thinking is like typing in your world of experiences. You get what I mean?
I do. Thinking fills in the blank.
The thing of it is after all these years and years and years of doing this, it all comes down to very simply, as you think you are. Isn't that it? Bring it down to a simple sentence, as you think you are. I mean, and you're chosen to choose this day. And it all comes down to now. is the appointed hour of change. Now. Not tomorrow, not the next, right now. Now you start it. See, people want to know how to do this, how to do. Just start it. Doesn't matter what you start it with. Start it. I mean, you can do it. It's like lighting a fire. You can do it 100 different ways, but you can do it the easy way, the way it's hooked up to do. No, it's as you think you are. If you'll just be one who pays attention to what you are thinking feelingly about, because that will be your world of experiencing somewhere down the line. And it will happen automatically with no conscious thought about it doing so, because you sent it to do so. You wonder about your voice. Your voice vibrates out every time you speak. Actually, it does, even when you think. But so you get a better picture of it. That vibration looks for an exact vibration. And when it finds it, that's an agreement. And if you'll stand on that agreement as being so, as you're told it is so, if you feel it to be so. So feeling is the secret. That was one of Neville Goddard's books. One feeling is the secret.
Absolutely.
And it actually it explains all of this. It's the same thing in your book. Hey, I finally finished it.
Good.
I like that. How ordinary people achieve extraordinary results. Thinking makes it so.
Absolutely.
Why not start right there? If they really get that one sentence, they'll understand everything in the book. How ordinary people achieve extraordinary results. If they don't get that, they won't proceed. Do you believe it?
I do. Goes back to what you've said throughout this whole broadcast. As you think, you are.
That's it. And if you can't change it, if you're stubborn, then you'll have just denied yourself, right?
Absolutely.
Because there's enough information in this book to change your mind and change your world. And do so feeling comfortable with the idea. See? Whatever you're doing, you're already doing it. All we're here to do is to comfort you in your thinking and feeling that it is come to life. And you can change it by changing what you're thinking feelingly about. See, you can separate this really, people have a real hard time separating what they think and feel and what they allow themselves to focus on generally most of the time. They're not consistent enough to stop the self-drainage. And it's all a self-problem. Because we've repeated so many times that they themselves are the makers of themselves. You got nobody to blame. So if you're in that attitude of blame, that attitude of feeling, aggravated at just the idea of someone succeeding over you or whatever nagging at you will actually dissolve if you'll think properly. It's all made up in mind in the first place. And so all you have to do is delete it. I mean, really, it is that simple, isn't it?
It is. Help them. Now, and again, I know what I would say as far as deleting. How would they delete that old thought and replace it?
Well, that's just it. Just start thinking something better. it says think only on things that are lovely and of good report. So when you're thinking on things that are lovely and good report, well, life seems to go different than when you're thinking negatively. I see it as being just that simple. In other words, it's like you say here, the 7-second prayer. Well, you change your mind at least that often, wouldn't you say?
You do.
I mean, down the street, you are driving somewhere. Your mind would every 7 seconds would be on a different subject,
if not sooner.
So I mean, why not choose it? See, because it's as you think you are, then why not choose what you're thinking about? I mean, to actually think it for yourself. Actually pick the idea that you're going to allow yourself to entertain for any length of time. And then do so. And do so feelingly. That's the whole idea. When you get to where it feels natural for you to think in that thought, you own it. But then think of this. If you're thinking of a negative idea for any length of time, you'll own it. And it'll be right with you, and it'll actually become a mindset. And it'll act automatically when whatever the opportunity arises to it. And I understand that this is all a one-way conversation. I understand that it's up to you to figure how it appoints the idea directly at you. But it does. I remember hearing it myself and denying, saying, well, yeah, there's a lot of people like that. So.
Not me, but there's a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, right. So, but you see, in other words, it says when the remembrancer does his work, you remember, but he's right there with you, ready to give you whatever you'll accept. But you see, he can't give you a word until you accept the idea. See, I'm with you. What is he? He's called a comforter. And if you accept him, well, believe me, it's very comforting. I can't think of anything in the world that would surpass knowing first person. It's an experience, and you will experience if you feel after it. You're told to do so. Why not give it a try? Nobody needs to know what you're doing. As a matter of fact, I would say that you'd be better off to keep it to yourself, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Mr. DeCarlo, I think you got a winner here.
I think so. And so, a lot of times I think the challenge is with many people, they don't believe that they can choose their next thought. And that's why we come up with tools like affirmation, mantras, repeated sayings, remembering scriptural verses, whatever. What are some things that you use to act as a remembrancing tool to remember what it is that you want to remember?
Yeah, that's it. It becomes a fixture of mind. It's like a picture that you've had on the wall for 20 or 30 years. I mean, how often do you even recognize it's there? Isn't that it?
True.
Well, it's the same thing with this. I mean, I don't know how many people who bought. I mean, I don't know how many the CDs are out somewhere. So, but thousands of them.
These CDs that Lindell has put out there are more meditative. If you had some nice, quiet listening music, or something playing lightly in your background, and you were playing his CDs, you're going to get the most benefit from them because they're more meditative than they are just educating you on a whole bunch of rules and principles. If you're looking for rules and principles, then stick with the teachings of Neville. But if you're wanting something to go deep into your spirit, get a hold of these CDs, and since I'm mentioning them now, go out to Metaphysical Art Theater and purchase either the download version or the hard copy. Either way, we either send them out to you or you'll get a link for the downloadable CDs. But listen, these are not just traditional teachings where you go listen to the message and you get it and it's over. You have to listen to these CDs repeatedly to get the benefit. Do you have anything you want to add with that?
No. What you actually are doing to create all the negatives you're having a problem with, you're already doing it. All you're doing is just switching a station. I mean, the negative ideas are just as creative as your enthusiasm for them. Give them the creation. You're feeding the very negatives, or they wouldn't be with you. Whatever the problem is, you have been feeding it with your mind, thinking feelingly about it. And that's what feeds the whole idea that you dreamt up in the first place. And actually, because you're experiencing it right now, is, in fact, a great truth. It's showing you that you have a choice. You can choose to think differently about the situation. If you're trying to blame someone else about what has happened to you, right there, you've denied the whole idea. You have to be thoughtful of what you're thinking, not what someone else thinks. And this is something that you have to prove for yourself. I can give you information, and you can have Mr. DeCarlo do the same over and over, and it's not going to do anything until you're really feeling after to know first person. And you can do so. You can do so. Why tell you to do it if you can't do it? And remember, who's telling you to do it was Jesus. He's telling you that if you'll feel after it, you'll find it. It's in you. It's with you. It is you. But you have to recognize it. And it's with you all step after step after step. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, right?
Absolutely.
Well, like I said, it's like a compass. It'll sure point the way, but it won't take one step for you. So you have to learn to live the life productively for yourself, because you are the producer of your own picture, and you are making a picture. It is a story, a movie, just like in the movies. You're playing a part. You may not be getting big bucks for it, but you're still playing a part.
I promise you there is a payoff for the part you're playing. Whether that payoff is good, bad, or indifferent, depending upon the part you're playing, there is a payoff.
That's it. And if it's not the right payoff, because if you're looking at it from the perspective of just money, well, it's always up to you. See, when you go for an interview, it's always up to what you've thought before the interview. Because when you sit down for an interview, if you're one to get that rattles your mind, well, good luck with that. But the idea is that if you have planned it out beforehand, you'll know the right answers when you hear them. You see, you don't have to do it. All you have to do is ask, believing, receiving. I'm telling you, it is just as popular in your everyday life as it is kneeling down somewhere praying to a God that doesn't exist. You're not begging God. That's its own answer. And I'm sure you know the answer. You're begging absolute love. loves, absolutely. It's a good thing God isn't insulted by us.
Absolutely. And he's not. And that's the wonderful thing that we can take comfort in, is that he's not upset with us. He's not angry with us, as some would have you believe. As Linda will often say, how is it that absolute love, who loves absolutely, can be upset with you? He can't.
That's right. And actually, if you really want to get into the heavy-duty idea, he's with you. Choose this day. What you'll think feelingly about, maybe for another time. But it will be pushed out as a thought from you as you think you are.
The thing is, this thing, if understood, for the person who truly settles down, it will radically transform their world. Now, for those who just hear, as it were, another message, it'll go in one ear and pass out the other, saying, this stuff doesn't work. Would you agree?
Just saying that is you denying yourself.
Absolutely.
If all denial is self-denial, who did you deny? See, just ask. See, that's what you do when you sit in silence. You ask yourself these questions. Because Scripture is asking you these questions. And why would Scripture be asking you these questions if he's not trying to help you guide yourself through what you're thinking and feeling about? So, like I keep telling you, you're in charge, take charge. And you'll be in charge. That's it. Can you say?
Absolutely. So as we're winding down and discussing, as it were, dare to assume the law of assumption, what would you say to the listener in closing?
If you really want to know first person, you have to stop with the idea of hearsay, because if you're of age to think for yourself, then let's reason together. If it's as you think you are, should you not really pay attention to what you're thinking feelingly about if it's going to be your world of experiencing? Listen. That's what you're to do. Because it's with you always. Just try it for yourself. Well, I don't even like to say try, because I used that for so many years. It's do a thing, and you shall have the power. What else do you need to know? Choose it or lose it. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Don't miss what he's saying about first person. You can listen to all the audio tapes, all the CDs, all the YouTube channels, all the Facebook channels. If you're not experiencing it for yourself, it won't take hold. It won't stick. Somebody else's experience won't work for you. Only as you do a thing will you have the power. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't even say in Scripture you're called one by one.
Absolutely.
It don't matter what you think you belong to or don't. You're called one by one. You, by yourself, all alone. That's it. You're told. You're chosen. And you'll know it. All you have to do is feel after the idea of knowing, and you'll wind up knowing. I did, and it worked. And I keep telling people it works, but you have to believe in what you're doing. And people tell me, I can't change what I believe. Well, you'll be a 2-year-old with no memory at all, really, because you keep changing your mind, day in and day out, and you probably change your mind maybe a half dozen times in one day for different ideas. But you're still changing your mind. And that's all you're asked to do, is as you think you are. Just change your mind at what you're thinking, and you'll change your world in accordance, because you're supposed to dream the dream. You're dreaming the dream, but is it a dream or a nightmare? Yeah. Just remember, as you think you are, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Been a pleasure, sir.
It certainly has. Thank you. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later.